I'm kind of a fragile little child.
Meet Flat Fact Smacking from TikTok, but I'll probably just call her FFS from now on. And yeah, she is kind of a fragile little child. We're going to see how much she, didn't learn things very well when she was younger.
So we are literally told that it's the spin of the Earth that creates the gravitational force.
That's right. She thinks that the spin of the Earth is the claim for what causes gravity. Now, I can give her a little bit of slack for that, I suppose. It is something that some people believe, but it is not certainly something that's ever been taught in a school. Hopefully, because that's not it. It's not the claim at all. It's mass attracting mass. So if you're going to try to be smarter than all the scientists in the world, you should probably figure out what the globe claim actually is first.
So now you're saying that there is no spin, or that it spins so slowly that it wouldn't fling water off. Okay, so regardless of how fast or slow it spins, you can't stick water to a spinning surface or a non-spinning surface. Water doesn't stick to a ball. Water always seeks to find its level. That is reality. That is your physical, provable, testable, repeatable reality. I don't believe in gravity. The spin of the Earth supposedly creates gravity, which gravity is an invisible force that is supposedly powerful enough to hold oceans to a ball. Powerful enough to hold the moon in its rotation around the Earth, but it doesn't affect the butterflies.
Oh, FFS. It's clear that you have not taken any physics classes ever. F equals ma is the second law of motion. Force equals mass times acceleration. So the mass of the oceans is large. You multiply that by the acceleration due to gravity, you get a large force. You take the mass of a butterfly, which is small, you multiply that by the force due to gravity, or the acceleration due to gravity, you get a small force. It's really not that difficult.
Gravity holds my 23,000-pound plow truck traveling 60 miles an hour on a highway to a ball. Gravity holds that plow truck to a ball.
You're going to have to excuse me for a minute. Somebody driving a 23,000-pound snowplow just dumped a whole bunch of snow at the end of my driveway. I don't know. Somebody was upset at me or something. Anyway, I got to go shovel.
But doesn't pull the hawks to the ground by this magical force called gravity, but it doesn't sink children in floaties on the surface of that water to the bottom of the pond.
All right, I finished. Did she say anything smart while I was gone? Oh, FFS. No, she didn't.
You can't stick water to a ball. You can't stick plow trucks to a ball and not have that powerful force affect something as delicate as a butterfly. You just can't do it. So,
all right, I cleaned up from shoveling the snow. And yes, you would expect that on TikTok, a whole bunch of people called her out for being so ignorant of the cause of gravity, and she doubled down on it.
We are taught that the spin of the Earth is supposedly how we have gravity. That's what I said. Somebody else commented on that page and said, oh, she says that the spin of the Earth is how we have gravity. And that's not what I said. I said, we are taught that supposedly. And that's because I was taught that. I learned it at one point or another in my life and grew up to believe it.
Nowhere are you going to find somebody claiming that the spin of the Earth causes gravity in a school. You're not taught that. Maybe you heard it from some guy that you thought was wearing something very sciencey.
Do you guys know how long a mile is?
No, probably not that guy. Maybe this guy.
I'm just like a scientist.
Yeah, that's definitely the scientist she was thinking about. Well, let's have a look at one of her other videos.
There are, however, high-altitude balloons, and those balloons, when not using a fisheye lens, have taken photos of the Earth, and they're all flat. All of them. That's the real truth. And anybody who sees this video that wants to disprove that, you can go ahead and go take a look for yourself.
Well, thanks for the invitation. I did exactly that. In this video from Dwayne Kellum, he used a rectilinear lens, and you can see here on the screen right now the analysis of that lens and showing that there is no barrel distortion added. At 117,000 feet, you can clearly see the curve of the horizon. So if you are honest and a truth seeker, as you claim to be, FFS, then you will see the curve of this horizon and then say, oh, you were wrong. There is a curve to the horizon when there is a rectilinear lens, when there's no barrel distortion, but that's not it. Kip Dauergertis did the same thing, got to almost 100 or almost 300,000 feet with yet another rectilinear lens clearly showing the curve of the horizon. Now this is above and below the center of frame, so any barrel distortion that might be there isn't, but would go the opposite direction below the center of frame, and we do not see that. And finally, in this issue of National Geographic from May of 1936, quite a few years before NASA was even founded, Captain Albert Stevens went up in a balloon, very high balloon, and photographed in a camera that he developed specifically for this. It's a giant camera with a very specific lens that does not add distortion, and it photographs in infrared. So flat earthers should love it. A real truth seeker will love this particular piece of evidence here. It's the curve of the horizon. This is over South Dakota. Look at that. I'll put a link to the description in the description to the details of this, including a high-res scan that I did of this particular photograph. So any true truth seeker who says that high-altitude balloons show, well, if you think that they show the true nature of the Earth, you will be definitely swayed by this. Now, here's what flat earthers will never do. They will never find a video at high altitude, 120,000 feet. There's your challenge. Full beginning to end of the video so that we can see the lens near the ground to see if it adds distortion or not. I challenge you. Link it in the descriptions. Right here. I challenge you. You won't. You have clipped and cropped and short sections of videos that have high barrel distortion, and they chose the specific section of the video where the barrel distortion causes the curve of the horizon to not be so curved. And in fact, most of them, it shows the horizon curving up on the edges the wrong direction. For flat Earth, it makes it look like the Earth is concave. Anyway, she has a little bit more to say on this topic.
There is no curve. NASA says, science says, that the Earth is 24,000 miles, a little more than 24,000 miles in circumference. And when you do the numbers, you should have an 8-inch per mile square drop. That's why people say, oh, you can see the ships going over the horizon. Well, if you can see ships going over the horizon, then you should be able to photograph a curve from, say, an airplane, but you can't. High altitude balloons have not proved that there's a curve. They have proved that there isn't. You need to get your facts straight because it's not looking so good for you.
From a commercial airplane, you're not quite high enough to easily see the curve of the horizon left to right. But I got two different things for you. First of all, if you're in the cockpit or you have a wide view of the horizon, you can in fact get a photograph of the curve of the horizon. I have 3 of them right here. I hope that you enjoy them. This is exactly what you were hoping for, isn't it? All right. Well, number 2, this one's much easier to test. If the Earth is flat, then the horizon must rise to eye level or very, very slightly dip. And that's it. Assuming there's no refraction. If there is refraction, the horizon should be above eye level for flat Earth. But when you test this actual claim by bringing with you the smartphone that almost all of us already have and installing the Theodolite app for iPhone or Dioptra on Android, you too can test to see whether or not the horizon dips. Flat earthers often say that the horizon rises to eye level, but they never measure it. So this is your opportunity, FFS, if you do care about truth. The next time you get on an airplane, commercial airplane, 35,000 feet or so, I challenge you, bring your phone, test it at altitude to see if the horizon dips. Now here I'm asking, this is the audience participation part. I'm going to ask everybody, when you're on an airplane next, bring the app, install it on your phone ahead of time. And when you're at elevation, 35,000 feet or higher, make sure you turn on the GPS. You can do it. It's okay. You have my permission. You can, whatever. Turn on the GPS because it'll give the elevation. It'll give the coordinates. And if you have a good, clear view of the horizon where it's not fuzzy or cloudy or hazy or dark or anything like that, send them to me. I'll put them on my website. Measure the dip of the horizon. So get it one photo straight out where it's as close to 0 as possible. And then, especially if it's a nice crisp horizon, dip the camera to the horizon to measure the actual dip of the horizon. And at 35,000 feet, it should be about 3.2 to 3.5 degrees if the Earth is a globe. And if the Earth is flat, the horizon must be 0. I challenge you to do this, FFS, Flat Earthers, and please, everybody, send it to me. I'll include it on my website. So there you go. Real truth seeker, FFS. It's not looking so good for you. Anyway, Chatbox Travels. Yes, my name's Bobby Clerk. Flat, open or closed mind, mab. What of read or learnt is fake, no space. Always remember there always another answer. Got you there. Bobby, I don't know how somebody who grew up in New Zealand could string together that collection of words and punctuation, but good job doing it. Hola, mi amo Javier. Truco, gracia. Create machine dig, okay? We can live same global. Oh, Javier, I'm so glad we can live same global, whatever that is. My name's Arnold. Hey, David, how do I not do biology? Space question mark. I got a woman pregnant. I know it was me, 'cause Cletus, he done show me how to do it. And I know it tweren't him, 'cause I got that woman pregnant and 2 months later she hatched. So it were me, not Cletus. I wash, I eat, I wash. If I don't wash my hands and face, my mama, she won't give me no hot buckets. And she bring me out back and she give me a big old whooping. So I wash my hands and face. Cletus is definitely a good place for that kind of information, but I think Arwen has something to say on this topic too.
You got your wife pregnant? Awesome. Congratulations. I've seen a lot of pregnant blonde women, and I really like that, even though there's not my babies.
It's been a while since I've had anything from this guy.
And I've driven all over town to look for the damn thing, but the moon disappeared. It disappeared.
That's right, it's Professor Dare Ick from the Dunning-Kruger Institute for kids who can't science good and want to learn to do other stuff good too. In this video, he teaches us about the theory of relativity.
Relative to your point of observation, is anybody on this globe here upside down? From this vantage point, if you were to zoom in on the Earth, would you see upside down people? Would you see upside down boats? Answer is of course you would. That's the relativity that the globe people don't want you to think about. Is the theory of relativity that suggests that this observer is upside down from that observer.
Don't anybody tell him that's not the theory of relativity. It's just adorable when they get it so wrong. Next, he teaches us about perspective.
So many people often ask the question, if the Earth is not a globe, why can't Polaris be seen from everywhere? And even though this is relatively easy to understand, many people are going to find a way to not understand this. I'm about to use observable facts to show you how this works. Let's dig in. Polaris, when viewed from the North Pole, is exactly 90 degrees above your head. What that means is, if you were on the North Pole, you would have to look straight up to see Polaris. So if we connect a line of sight to the North Pole and run the string out exactly 90 degrees above the North Pole, this is what it would look like. If Polaris were this far above the surface of the Earth, this star would be visible from anywhere on the Earth, and you might have a valid argument. Because the globe is all about deception, those peddling this model want you to assume that the Polaris pole star would be so high in the sky, it would be visible from anywhere on the surface of this Earth. However, it is an observable fact that this star, when viewed from the equator, sits at 0 degrees above the horizon, which would mean the height of Polaris would be a lot less like this and more like this. A 2-scale model of the height of Polaris would make the altitude of this star roughly at the point where the string meets the pin.
It is so hard to watch Dare Ick's video. Everything he says is wrong. I don't know what's going on inside that tiny little walnut brain of his, but it's adorable how smart he thinks he is. That is not to scale. To scale, if the North Star were 0 degrees above the horizon from the equator, then it would be literally sitting on the surface of the dirt pizza flat Earth. But clearly, it's not. People would have noticed. But let me help you out, Derek. I'll use crayon so it's kind of in your language. In Minneapolis, Minnesota, it is 3,105 miles due north to get to the North Pole. And it's 45 degrees angular elevation to the pole star. That means that the elevation in miles of the pole star must be 3,105 miles. This is a simple triangle using your map. The equator is 6,210 miles from the North Pole. That means that the angular elevation of the pole star must be 26 degrees. You can measure it with this plastic angulometer. But it's not. It gets worse, though. If you go to Queenstown, New Zealand, which is at 45 degrees south latitude, that's 9,315 miles from the North Pole. Doing the same triangulation, which is simply applying perspective, then on the dirt pizza, the elevation of Polaris must be 18 degrees elevation. We don't see that. The problem is, everywhere that you measure the elevation of, well, anything, it's different in reality than what the dirt pizza demands. Derek, you're not even close. And he's not done.
Which would make the height of Polaris on a 2-scale model of the Earth just under a ½ inch above the surface of this map.
That's right, he measured it. And to scale, it's ½ an inch. Whatever an inch is on that map, to scale. He actually said to scale. That map doesn't have a scale. It can't. I don't know. What does he think? None of it works. Oh, dear Derek. Well, I did ask Arwen what he thought about Derek and other flat earthers, and this is what he had to say.
Flat earthers are stupid and retarded, and they never pay attention to anything, and they always get things wrong, and they're lazy, and literally all that.